Lin Yue's heart was filled with confusion and pain. She found herself increasingly unable to live without Andrew. She loved everything about him, including his warmth and coldness. She always tried to make him feel how important he was to her. However, Andrew's attitude left her puzzled and uneasy. Lin Yue wanted to share every little thing in her life with him, even something as simple as seeing a bird fly by. She wanted to tell Andrew that if she ever left, she would want an angel to protect him, just like the lyrics of a song she heard. Sometimes Andrew would call Lin Yue an angel, which would make her happy for days, but most of the time, Andrew was distant and unresponsive. She longed for Andrew to say good morning or how are you, but she never received a greeting. Lin Yue always hoped that Andrew would turn around and notice her waiting, but he never did. She wondered if Andrew had ever, even for a moment, liked or cared about her. In this endless cycle of torment and anticipation, a year quickly passed. One day, while talking to one of Andrew's roommates, Lin Yue accidentally found out that Andrew had many dating apps on his phone, filled with countless chat records of his conversations with different women. These conversations were full of ambiguity and flirtation. Clearly just for one-night stands, Lin Yue felt like she had fallen into an icy abyss, her heart freezing over. She felt like a fool for believing that he could bring her warmth and happiness. Lin Yue tried to convince herself that maybe this was just his past way of life, and now that he had her, he wouldn't seek excitement and comfort elsewhere. But as time went on, she realized that Andrew remained indifferent and ignored her existence. She began to doubt whether she could ever truly reach his heart. One day, Lin Yue received a call from her family in China. Her father was sick and needed her to come back and take care of him. Lin Yue was in a panic. She quickly packed her bags, preparing to return home. She went to find Andrew to say goodbye, only to find that he was not home. She sent him a text message and called him, but there was no response. Lin Yue left the town with disappointment and helplessness. She thought that Andrew would contact her, even if it was just a text message, telling her that he would wait for her to come back or offering some comfort. However, as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, she received no message. She was consumed by longing for him, wanting to hold him and tell him how much she missed him. Even a simple hello text would have been enough to make her rush back to him, but her phone remained as silent as if it were turned off. She gradually realized that Andrew might have just seen her as one of the many people on his dating apps, never truly liking her. While taking care of her father, Lin Yue heard from a friend in Northern Europe that Andrew had a girlfriend. She couldn't believe it. The man she had loved so deeply had so easily forgotten her. Lin Yue shed silent tears by her father's bedside, feeling lost and questioning why she had been so obsessed with such an unrealistic relationship. She began to regret not listening to her rational self, which had warned her against pursuing this relationship, like a moth drawn to the flame only to be burned to ashes. After her father's condition stabilized, Lin Yue returned to the town. She decided to sell her house and end her life here, saying goodbye to everything from the past. However, the day before she was about to leave, she unexpectedly ran into Andrew and his girlfriend on the street. Andrew didn't even glance at Lin Yue and walked past her, holding the waist of a young and beautiful girl, whispering to her. The girl looked up at him happily. Lin Yue's heart felt as if it were being torn apart by an invisible hand. The pain was indescribable. But she took a deep breath, controlled her emotions, and said without revealing any trace, "Hello, Andrew." Andrew seemed to want to say something, but his girlfriend pulled his arm and said, "Let us go." Andrew left without saying a word, still holding the girl. Lin Yue watched their retreating backs, feeling a sense of helplessness that made her body feel heavy. She slowly and reluctantly moved her gaze away from the familiar figure, walking aimlessly with tears streaming down her face. Her heart had followed him, and she thought she had already let go, but seeing him again, the walls she had built around her heart crumbled instantly. In the following days, Lin Yue spent her days dealing with the sale of the house and her nights sitting in the room, letting the memories of the past gnaw at her. She allowed Andrew to wander in her memories. Every familiar memory in this house was like a sharp blade stabbing her already wounded heart. She sat or lay there silently, like a lifeless puppet, using this as a way to vent her feelings for the relationship. She told herself it would end, that when the pain became numb, she would be able to walk away calmly. 2 weeks later, after handling the sale of the house and buying a plane ticket to return home, Lin Yue decided to take one last look at Andrew before leaving the town. She wanted to see him one more time from a distance, without him knowing, to say goodbye in her heart and wish him well, hoping never to meet again in another life. But when she stood below Andrew's apartment, hearing the laughter that once belonged to her and the deep voice of a man expressing love to another woman, the last bit of hope in her heart shattered. She had tried countless times to mend her heart, which Andrew had torn into pieces. She whispered to the window, "Andrew, goodbye, goodbye, my once loved one. I have etched your love into my flesh and blood, but you have thrown it into an unknown corner. Now, I leave all of it in the cold winter of Northern Europe. I will return to the warm embrace of my hometown in the south of China to heal my back."